we interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Okay, apparently the intro is not going to work here for us tonight, so we will just get right into it. Welcome to a live edition of Vikings Uncensored, Free Agency Frenzy. Not only do you get Brunswick and myself tonight, we've got a couple special guests with us as well. David Stefano from Vikings First and Skol, and of course Justin from Purple and Gold for Days, both joining us. And going to talk some free agency, and we are going to take some questions and all kinds of good stuff. But first, I want to do this to pay our respects. So give us 1 second. Of course, this is our first show since the legendary Bud Grant passed away last weekend. So we just wanted to pay our respects to the Grant family and to a Minnesota legend. I remember the tail end of the Grant era, the 81, 82 to, and then, of course, the year he came back in 85 after the disastrous Les Steckel year. But it's Bud Grant was the Minnesota Vikings, and he's going to be sorely missed. So, Dave,
was and is and always will be.
Yes, absolutely. Dave, any Grant memories you want to hit quick before we roll into stuff?
To me, he was pivotal in my youth. I lived up in the Minneapolis area when I was 4 or 5, 6, somewhere in that range. And I remember watching it on TV, obviously. It was a bad time. My folks were splitting up at the time, so my refuge was in Vikings football. And the one thing that was constant was Bud on the sideline. You got to love him. He was a true Minnesota legend.
Well, Justin, anything on your end you want to throw in there? Or?
Well, I'm a little younger than you guys. My first memories was the 87 run to the NFC Championship game, the unexpected one during the strike-shortened season. So I never got to see a team that was coached by Bud Grant. Technically, I think I was 4 or 5 when that last one was. So for all intents and purposes, I used the line the other day in one of my videos. I might not have done very well in American history, but I aced Vikings history. And you can't know anything about Vikings history without knowing who and what Bud Grant was. Aside from being an incredible human being and an incredible coach, he was an incredible ambassador to the game of football and to the Minnesota Vikings. And even beyond his coaching years, the old lines of he had an office over in Eden Prairie and had an office at TCO Stadium. And realistically, there won't be a coach that can surpass Bud Grant, sans winning a Super Bowl. You can talk about the only other couple that are close would, Denny Green, but the only way Denny could have ever passed him is if he had won one of those, won a Super Bowl. That's just the reality of the situation. And I refer to him as Vikings emeritus. Okay. That simply means it's just like forever, in perpetuity. And like I said, there are so many stories that you can have just on the field, but there's a bazillion different stories off the field. I'll throw, a shout out back to Dave to last Saturday on Two Old Bloggers. You guys threw it down at the end with some incredible stories that you and Darren had. So for somebody like me as a youngin', I only know him from what I have studied. And, we all remember that 2015, January 2016 wildcard game at TCF Stadium while US Bank was being built. And he's just walking out there like it's a 4th of July Sunday afternoon and looking around at everybody like, you bunch of wussies. Seriously. So I guess we'll just leave it at that. He's the greatest. And it's as simple as that.
That's called mental discipline, mind over matter.
Yep. All right. Before we roll into the rest of the stuff here, then want to give both Dave and Justin a quick second to promote their pages. So, Dave, we'll start off with you and your new endeavor that you have going.
Yes. Many of you know me from Climbing the Pocket. However, Climbing the Pocket has split off. Myself, Tyler Fornes, the real Forno, and of course, Darren Campbell, my partner on 2O Bloggers, have now formed Vikings First and Skull. And we are fired up. We've done 8 videos so far this week. However, Tyler went on vacation and hasn't produced as many. However, he's still dumping into Vikings Wire. And but tomorrow we have 2O Bloggers, and it will be our first live broadcast. Thanks to YouTube taking a while to get us that permissions. But luckily it skips ahead. We don't have to wait the 2 months and yada, yada. We appreciate that. You can find us at Vikings First and Skull on YouTube. Also, starting shortly, we've got it set up. It's in testing. We will be back to podcasting the shows again as well. We have partnered up with the newest organization called Fans First Sports Network. They are sucking in a lot of all these sites that SB Nation had that got laid off, and that's what happened to Climbing the Pocket, because they got into financial trouble. Surprise, surprise. And we're going to build it bigger and better with the motto, by the fan, for the fan. And we strongly believe in that. And I know you guys do too. Or else we wouldn't do this.
Exactly. All right.
What's Justin up to?
Justin, how about you fill us in on what's going on with your channel now?
Well, it's funny. I have consumed many and many Vikings podcasts over the last however many years. And, through the encouragement of people close to me, there's like, Justin, you keep talking about how you would love to do what those guys do. Why the heck don't you do it? First part of the 2021 season, I started doing some collaborations and started that same thing this September as well. And a couple of new people that group had hooked up with had said, all right, Justin, you're free to come on our show anytime you want. Having said that, start doing your own channel. In other words, get your own show. So it was right after the bye week, the victory against Miami, where my normal cohort wasn't available. He was sick that week. So I just flipped it on and said, all right, I'm going to go live on my first channel. It's funny because I watched that first episode with my daughter a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, my gosh, how awful was that? But since then, middle of October, I have managed to link up with lots of different content creators and collaborations, met you guys as well. Dave, I got to throw a shout to you and everybody over at what used to be Climbing the Pocket, as well as your new endeavor, that watching you guys gave me, somewhat of the swift kick in the rear end to say, hey, you know what? You can do this. It's not that complicated. It's a lot of work, but it's not that complicated. Actually, it is. But in all seriousness, Purple and Gold for days. Purple and Gold is easy. Obviously, my last name being Day, I was just like, all right, Purple and Gold or Skull. How can I come up with something somewhat creative that hasn't been used? So, hey, Purple and Gold for days. I didn't want to do all. A lot of people's like, hey, say Purple and Gold all day. I'm like, nah, that's too closely tied to Adrian Peterson, which isn't a bad thing, but it's not unique enough. So I do collaborations. I do my own stuff. And, I just try to soak in as much as I can, watching other people do what they do and building this community, because as you have always said, Rhino, it's like when one of us succeed, we all succeed. So, hey, there's enough love to go around, and, and it's never a, hey, I got to be, where these people are. You guys have all been doing this a lot longer than I have, obviously. And I'm just a kid at the cool kids table, just being able to sit here and have a conversation with you guys, so.
Well, and that's, with us, we look, like you were talking, we look back at some of the early episodes, and, I got to give a shout out to Dave, because Dave gave me my first start podcasting back in the old Good Morning Gallarhorn, doing some of the live post-game shows and things like that. Got my feet wet into it and got me the itch, and, led me to get together with Lance so we could start Vikings Uncensored. And, we're at 102 episodes now. So it's, stuff has progressed. We're still learning every day, but hey, we're enjoying the heck out of it. And, we get to talk Vikings football with guys like you, like the two of you. It's a lot of fun. Said the pay ain't worth a shit, but hey.
But that's the fun part of it is just, I'm sitting in Rochester, Minnesota. I know Davey's you're down in Texas, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
And, we're all over the place. And that's the beauty of the Vikings community and what the team does and means to us. And this wonderful thing of technology where, back in the olden days, you might meet up a couple of buddies at the bar that you don't know, and you might have one or two conversations, and that's where it ends. And now being able to do this and being able to connect with Viking fans all over the place is just all kinds of fun. So,
right. All right. So since we did the reminisce and the talk there for about 10 minutes, let's roll into some actual Vikings content.
Hey.
A couple of quick goodbyes, I guess, to some of the players. Of course, last week, Eric Kendricks, Adam Thielen, both moved on. Kendricks has since signed with the formerly San Diego, now Los Angeles Superchargers. Thielen has had some interest. I've heard Carolina's interested. I've heard Kansas City's interested. Also, of course, Dalvin Tomlinson, who the Vikings were trying to re-sign, got sniped by the Cleveland Browns. A whole lot more money than we were going to pay him. 4 years, $57 million. Pat Peterson, same thing. 2 years, 14 with the Steelers. I know Peterson said on his podcast that his agent was talking with the Vikings all day long. They just couldn't come to a consensus on the numbers. So, Dave, what do you think on our departures?
Well, I got on the Steel Curtain Network a couple nights ago talking about Patrick Peterson. They asked me on to ask what type of a player he was and what type of leader he was. I told them it was fantastic. And they're going to love him, and talked about how he brought all the young corners into his house, and they'd barbecue and learn how to read film and dissect plays and be able to read plays and wide receivers and etc. And at the end, they get to, well, if you could pick any player on the Steelers, who would you select other than TJ Watt? And of course, because the first answer to everybody is TJ Watt, I said, I'd take Patrick Peterson back in a heartbeat. I'm going to miss him. He was a good leader on the team. It's unfortunate they couldn't get a deal done because our corner room is quite bare, even with the new signing. But as for the other guys, I would have liked to see Tomlinson, but I'm happy for him that he got a big payday. And the other guys, I have no problem with going. Kendricks, to me, looked a little bit over the hill. Adam Thielen looks a little bit slow. I'm betting Adam's checking out his prospects as where's the clearest or closest golf courses before he decides. But I'm happy for him. Let him go on. Adam Thielen's going to be back here in 10 years or so when he gets inducted into the Ring of Honor. That's a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
He's one of the greatest receivers, one of the best receivers we've ever had on the Minnesota Vikings, and we've had a ton of them. He's put up some outstanding numbers over his career, and everybody knows his story. He's a good man, and I wish him well. I wish them all well. I hope they do great.
Justin, what do you think?
Well, before I get back to that, a commenter put it in the question, and you put the bottle up there, but we never got the answer. What you drinking tonight?
It's called Fighting 69th.
Nice.
It's an Irish whiskey.
There you go.
Suitable for the day. I prefer it. If the Fighting 69th Regiment is, pardon me, out of New York, and 10% goes to helping veterans, which is a cause near and dear to my heart.
Absolutely.
It's
well,
a great Irish whiskey.
As far as the departures go, thanks, Eric. We appreciate you. It was time. I was trying to give the benefit of the doubt to maybe because he had the defensive headset that gets the calls from the defensive coordinator, which had been done by Anthony Barr previous to that maybe along with the absolutely awful defensive scheme or lack thereof that was Ed Donachelle.
Yes.
All right. But at the same time, he had the least amount of dead cap hit, and he had the most amount of money that could be freed up in one fell swoop. So he had so many things working against him. So, we can't really, it is what it is, and we wish him well. Adam Thielen, again, he's on the Mount Rushmore of Minnesota-born athletes that went on to greatness in the professional ranks. He's right there with, your Kevin McHale's, your Lindsey Whalens, your Joe Mauer, and Adam Thielen is definitely on that list. I had somebody criticize me. I was like, how could you not put Bud Grant there? Because he's from Superior, Wisconsin. So that's why. But anyway, the point is.
But he was smart enough to move out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
although he did still have his cabin up there. So.
Yes, exactly. But jokes aside, wish Thielen nothing but the best. When I did my short video as the goodbye, it's like, hey, I know it hurts, but this is the right move long-term for the team. And that's kind of what we, generally speaking, are behind. And just like when Kevin Garnett was traded to the Boston Celtics, hey, from afar, obviously we're not going to celebrate if you win a title the way we would if it was our team. But, hey, no hard feelings, and we'll celebrate with you unless you sign with the Green Bay Packers. And in that case, we don't want nothing more to do with you. I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
But jokes aside.
Well, no, I'm not kidding at that point.
Nah. Like you said, he'll be a Ring of Honor member. It's amazing when you've got a receiver as well as Adam Thielen played, that you still got to talk about Chris Carter, Randy Moss, Anthony Carter, Ahmad Rashad, Gene Washington, and then you've got Sammy White. Thank you. And then you've got Jake Reed, and then you've got your Thielen, Diggs, and Jefferson. That's kind of roughly my order. And obviously we all anticipate that JJ is going to zoom past and get close to that Randy Moss, Chris Carter level. But the point I'm making here is that it's sad to see him go. But, I went to 3 games this year, and after a while I'd realize, like, where is Adam Thielen? So then I'd focus on him for a while, and he just didn't have anything left, ladies and gentlemen. He just didn't. I mean, he wasn't getting any separation. On a rare occasion he did. He would catch the ball and run backwards 5 yards to try to get a full head of steam. It's just like, it is what it is, okay? But Dalvin Tomlinson, I kind of was hoping that we could find a way, but like you said, once you saw that offer from Cleveland, it's like, okay, yeah, that just wasn't going to happen. So he had to eat some dead cap hit there. But Patrick Peterson, understandable. Like you said, his leadership was the biggest asset he brought. He's not the same level that he was in Arizona. There's sure to be a Hall of Famer, no doubt, but he wasn't at that level physically, but he was mentally, both from a leadership standpoint and from hey, I might not have my physical skills, but I got that cunning and guile. So that'll definitely be missed as well. So, but at the same time, I can't disagree with any move. I can't say, what's up, Ted and Drew? What's up, guys? How you doing? Thanks for joining.
That there is the one and only Toonses following.
That's Toonses?
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks.
The mastermind behind the operation that is Vikings Report with Drew and Ted.
The one pulling the strings.
Yes.
Yes. One of the best
my one goal in life
of these shows out there.
My one goal in life is to get successful enough that we can afford a cat to do our producing for me.
Yes. Yes. But I can't disagree with anybody that we didn't bring back. I mean, it's one of those deals where if they had not brought Harrison Smith back, and I know we'll get to that, but that would have been the one where it's just like, really, we couldn't have found a way to keep that one. But as far as the people we've let go, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with them all.
I got a question for you, Rhino.
Yeah.
As we know, my artwork back here, Diggsy's gone. Right? Thielen's now gone. That's Cook over here. Right? Back when he wore 33. Is he gone?
That's a very good question. I've always been of the mind that he's going to be gone. But with the re-signing of Alexander Madison, I mean, we've got over $18 million tied up in the running back room right now. Now, being Friday today, Dalvin Cook had a roster bonus that came due, so we do lose some of the cap savings if we were just to let him go at this point in time. But I still think they're trying to trade him. You listen to like Doogie Wolfson and some of these other guys. They're saying that that Vikings are trying to trade, but right now the trade compensation probably isn't what they want. So I think when it boils down to it, he will be gone. But we're in no real hurry at this point in time to let him go. So, and there's always the option too that, you know, we start getting into the season, and as typically happens, a running back's going to go down, and all of a sudden that 6th round pick we could have got for him now is a 4th round or 3rd round pick we can get for him in October.
And there's also the run up to the draft.
True.
Where
Right.
teams start to get desperate and they start looking around as well. But I agree. There's time built in there that could possibly happen. He got his bonus today, as well as did Zadarius Smith.
Right.
Do you think Zadarius Smith will be traded?
I think there's a possibility of it. Now, if we were going to just cut Zadarius, we would have done it before Friday because it cost us an extra. We would have saved an extra $5 million. I think the Vikings' intention is to keep him. It all depends on whether or not he wants to play ball or not. You know, if he's going to be a malcontent and things like that, we may have to move him. But I think their intent all along has been to keep him. But I guess we'll see. Lance, are you got enough video feed there to say something, or are you just are you frozen in the corner? We ran into this last week when we were trying to record our show. It took us an hour and a half to get a stable internet connection. Now tonight, before the show started, his internet was great, and now when the show starts, it bogs down on him.
Oh no!
Now we can hear you. Try it now.
Yeah, I'm in and out here, man. Testing.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you. A little fuzzy, but we can hear you. We got you.
No.
Of course, the second I say that.
Oh. Yeah.
Right. Lance, you want a little producer hint that'll help?
I'm here when I'm here, but sure.
All right. When you have low internet bandwidth, especially in upspeed, which you do, I'm assuming Rhino's driving this, reset your router, your Wi-Fi router, prior to going on.
Yeah.
It clears all the cache. That helps speeds it up. And the other thing, if you're just doing a recording, Rhino, do it during the day or off times, because at this time of night is the worst time because everybody's coming home from work and they're hitting their Wi-Fis and sucking the communal bandwidth down as you go in. It's something we all fight with across the board. And I know our viewers bitch and complain about it. I just saw solar flares. That's the old joke from Good Morning Gallahorn. I'd always blame it on the solar storms. But it's a true deal. I wish we all had fantastic internet, but unfortunately, we do not yet. It's one of those things I'd like to see.
Especially with Lance being in BF nowhere in the middle of Minnesota there too. So
Starlink, brother, Starlink.
all right. Well, I guess we'll
140 people in my town. 140 fucking people that live in my city.
And they use AOL.
And they all use dial-up.
I'd say every time he comes in, we get that.
Anyways.
Yeah,
ding,
yeah,
ding,
right.
ding, ding, ding. Lance, keep working on your internet. We'll continue on, and when you get it straightened out, we'll do the best we can with what we got here, I guess. But let's roll on to some of the other big things. Of course, right off the get-go,
I'm gonna get.
you do what you need to do, bud, and then come back on because we'll
Reset your computer, reset your modem, reset your
set the router, do all that,
yeah,
whatever you
yeah.
need to. Lance's brother says the internet is perfect back in the camper.
Of course. And he's probably gaming.
Yeah, that's probably why
That's
Lance can't get
probably
on
it,
because
right,
David's
right.
using up all the internet bandwidth.
Right.
But anyway, of course, once the legal tampering period started, the Vikings went out and did the move that everybody expected them to do. We signed a tight end.
Yeah.
Tight end Josh Oliver, who is a blocking tight end more than a receiving tight end, signed to a 3-year, $21 million deal, 10.75 guaranteed. His incentives can get him up to $24 million in the total contract. What do you think on that, Justin?
My sources tell me that Lamar's trying to get here. We're trying to trade Kirk, and that was one of his conditions is we signed one of his blockers for him. I have no idea what the heck they were thinking.
There's a rumor getting started.
You heard it on Vikings Uncensored, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly. I don't know what they're thinking. I'm trying to give Kwesi the benefit of the doubt. Now, when you really break down that contract, it is more a 1-year deal that's got some easy outs. And in fact, a lot of the contracts that have been signed this week, and I'm sure we'll get to some more of them, are one of those. Well, yeah, a lot of it's funny money, so to speak. It's, the contract not worth the paper it's printed on, whatever cliche you want to use. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, and it still doesn't, that it's like, all right, we've got this need, we need to fix this over here. We're trying to restructure this over here to try to, clear up some of our dead cap hits here, and we signed a backup tight end. I don't get it. I really don't. And it's nothing against the guy. It could have been Joe Bag of Donuts because I don't know much about for as much as I know about the NFL and fantasy football, I had never heard of this guy. I honestly hadn't. So I'm trying not to speak out of both sides of my mouth to say I'm just going to say it. I don't get it, but we'll see. Riveting insightfulness, I know, but that's literally all I got with this guy is I've never heard of him, and I don't know, and it seems like a lot of money. What do you think, Dave?
I actually like it, and there is, I think, a reason behind it. There's a method to the madness. Yes, he is a very good blocking tight end. Depending on where you looked, he was number 1 or number 2 last year in the NFL at blocking tight ends. I personally love blocking tight ends. Jimmy Kleinsasser is my buddy and my all-time favorite Vikings player. Sits behind me on this shoulder, down there on the desk. Thank you, Drew. What I think they're doing is the final 4 teams in the playoffs each played a ton of 12-man and 13-man personnel. It causes very bad mismatches across the defense because defenses have now gone to, the passing game's king. So they're going more nickel all the time, which means more defensive backs. More defensive backs are lighter. A tight end on a defensive back can be a mismatch. Yes, the defensive back has the speed, but the tight end has the size. And then when you throw in tight ends like Kelsey, et cetera, that are absolutely dominant, I'm going to throw TJ Hawkinson into that realm. It can cause nightmares for defensive coordinators. And it also causes nightmares for whoever on the defense, usually the middle linebacker, calling coverages as to how we're going to put who on who. And that gives options for the offense to run off their plays. They can go reads. Each wide receiver or each receiver has reads, whether it's tight end or wide receivers, and they could use those to their advantage. Kirk Cousins knows that. He knows he can read the defense. He can check out of it. That's good. On top of the blocking, right? The running game last year wasn't as good as we'd like, and that's an understatement. So this gives us more beef. Granted, it's on the outside. The running back still's got to get to the outside to utilize that beef. Hopefully the interior stays healthy. They get to the outside. It turns a 2 or 3 yard run, hopefully into an 8 or 10 yard run. And I think that's the reason why they went out and got him, is because they want to cause those mismatches. And it's the 12 and 13 personnel formations. We're going to see a lot more of that. It's more of the Shanahan style that O'Connell picked up.
I get all that. It's just like, okay, blocking, our bigger issue is the interior more so than the exterior. And it's just, I get what you're saying. And I get it that if you can have, I'm certainly not going to say, oh, we have the potential. I remember Paul Allen once saying this, that, hey, this could be the NFC's version of Gronkowski and Hernandez. Okay, let's not go that far. But having said all of that, it's just like, okay, I hear the blocking, this and that, but it's like our tackles are the strength of our offensive line is more the interior. But I get your point. It just seemed like a lot of money, and I guess you have to take into account with the salary cap going up and inflation that maybe that kind of contract back in the day for a backup tight end would look preposterous, and we kind of have to understand that, everything looks ridiculous now. So I feel what you're saying. What's up, Ted? Thanks for joining. Appreciate you, man. You've had some comments come up here, so I got to say hello to Ted real quick.
Welcome, Nick, Ted, Drew, Joonses, the whole Vikings Report crew is here. Doc Proto, of course, Anthony Tollison, our buddy from the Gallahorn Group, David Bruns, brother of Mr. Brunswick. Everybody else that I'm missing, thank you guys for joining us live here tonight. Lance is back, or is he? I don't know. Brunswick is having issues with the transporter on the USS Enterprise. Lance, are you with us, or are you froze again? He's froze again.
Yeah.
I may be back.
All right. No, you're not.
For fuck's sake.
While you have bandwidth, you got any insight on the Oliver signing?
Yeah, me too. That's what I thought.
Yeah, exactly. I knew this was going to happen.
You got to think when it comes to Oliver, we don't have a wide receiver too, unless you're going to promote Ozzie up there.
And I don't believe Osborne's a wide receiver 2. I think he's a very solid wide receiver 3.
Agreed.
And TJ Hawkinson is basically your wide receiver 2. So
right now, yeah. Anyway, we'll move on to the next guy here while Lance keeps working on this thing. The next big name signing we come up with was cornerback Byron Murphy.
Yeah,
signed him to a 2-year, $17.5 million contract. 12.6 guaranteed, $7 million signing bonus. Salary of only $1.1 million this year, 8.3 next plus incentives. One of the key things I liked about this whole thing was he flat out said he turned down $16 million a year from Arizona to come here because he talked to former teammates Pat Peterson and Jordan Hicks and asked him about Minnesota. And, of course, we saw a couple weeks ago that ranking came out about which teams in the league treat the players the best, have the best facilities, all that stuff. The Vikings were number 1 on that. And that apparently was the determining factor to get Byron Murphy here. So we have a starting cornerback. And interestingly enough, Murphy took over for Pat Peterson when he left Arizona. Now he's taking over for Pat Peterson after Pat left Minnesota. So, Dave, what do you think about this one?
I love the signing. I think it's great. Murphy's got flexibility to play outside and to play inside. I'm curious to see how Flores uses him. If he starts him out on the outside and then during passing downs, he moves into the nickel slot and we get Evans or Booth coming in as the third guy. I very much like it. He's a tackling machine. He does that extremely well. He might remind everybody of some other corners we used to have that could actually tackle. That is a great thing. I can't wait to see him play. I watched his press conference yesterday. He is so happy to be here. We're happy to have him. I think it's a great thing. It's step 1. Now we got 3 corners in the room.
Yep. Justin, what do you think?
No, I totally agree. I had just finished a show earlier hoping that there would be some news on like Hitman or Dalvin Cook or Za'Darius, and I jumped in on one of my other collabs that I do. They were in the middle of a mock draft. They're like, what? I'm like, oh, not much. Just Byron Murphy signed with the Vikings. They're like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm glad you interrupted us. But in all seriousness, like you said, what I love most about watching his film is just how much of a sure form tackler the guy is. And that really shouldn't be something that gets us excited. That should kind of just be expected, is that you're a cornerback in the NFL and you know how to tackle. But having said that, solid all the way around. Like you said, he can play multiple positions. both on the inside and the outside. Run support, outstanding. All the way around. The fact that they got this guy for 17 and a half over 2 years. So initially it came out, it was 2 years, 22 million. You're thinking, oh, 11 million for this guy. It's not even that. So, and I forget who had the comment a moment ago about all the signings we do, but I mentioned it a moment ago. They are somehow, some way. Was it Drew? All right, cool. Thank you. They're somehow signing all of these players, and they're not hamstringing themselves in future years. There were times where the Vikings would get 1 or 2 free agent signings, and they'd have to backload the contract so much because they were up against the salary cap that to get anybody in here, they had to pay them peanuts the first year or two and then be stuck with all kinds of salary cap hits after that. And that's not the case with any of these signings thus far. But as far as Murphy goes, like I said, home run signing, if you ask me.
Yeah, he was a guy that, had been kind of rumored to the Vikings before the whole legal tampering and everything else happened. And I know it was a guy I was kind of hoping we'd go after. And, it worked out for us. So that's, we've got a veteran cornerback now in the room, going in there with Booth and Caleb Evans and maybe Duke Shelley, depending upon what happens there. We were a little light on experience back there. So getting a guy like Murphy in, I think it's very key, I think, to success in the back end.
And you got to remember, he was mentored by Patrick Peterson.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
He plans on continuing that mentorship to the younger guys.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, Patrick Peterson's influence still extends back to the Vikings even after he has moved on. So,
You want to address Anthony's question that just came up since we've already brought up Duke Shelley?
Absolutely. Duke Shelley? Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say my thought on Duke Shelley is I like Duke Shelley a lot. I will understand if the Vikings get outpriced for a guy like a Duke Shelley. I hope he can come back because that gives you a nice solid rotation where you've got Murphy and then you've got Shelley, Evans, and whatever you get out of Booth Jr. rotating as your 2 through 4. I like Duke Shelley in that 3-4 slot. I'm not sure that I love him as your bona fide number 2. What I loved about Duke Shelley last year when he came in, mind you, he was the 5th or 6th guy and came in because of injuries and whatnot. And what I like about Duke Shelley is that he's situationally good, particularly in the red zone. Okay, his red zone defense is outstanding. Now, I don't know that would translate to be able to cover the whole field because obviously when you're in the red zone, you only have to defend 30 yards as opposed to all of it. But I'm just a little concerned, and that's why I think the Vikings are kind of hanging tight a little bit on him is to say, okay, you're really good in this role. And if we come to expect you to do that sort of production in a higher level role, not only will we be setting ourselves up for disappointment, we'll be setting you up for disappointment as well. Dave, do you think I'm onto something or on something there?
No, I think you're right. Duke was good at that, and I'd like to see him back. Don't know. His latest tweet was about 8, 9, 10 hours ago, and he's just basically saying he's believing in himself. You'd hope we'd heard from him. The only thing I dislike about Duke Shelley is his size, but that didn't matter last year. He played up to anybody, and he got physical with people, and he could tackle well. I'd love to have Duke Shelley back. I think he would be great in the corner room, and as we all know, you can't have enough corners. Thank you, Mike Zimmer.
Yeah,
we need at least 6, and I think last year we went through 6. So I think Duke Shelley being back would be fantastic. He's a veteran, doesn't cost a whole lot. Bring him back. I want him back.
Yeah, my thought on Shelley is I think he probably wants a little bit more money than what the Vikings want to give him right now. So I think we're kind of playing that waiting game until it gets into the the third wave of free agency or whatever, when the asking price will come down a little bit. Then I think that's, if someone comes in and grabs him before then, okay. I mean, I want to see him back too. I really like the way he played last year, and especially, like you said, in the red zone area. I mean, he's got shades of an Antoine Winfield light kind of in his play style. I'm not saying he's Antoine Winfield by any stretch of the imagination, but he's got some of those qualities that Winfield had. So I'm, more than
You guys came for Vikings talk, and you got a comedy routine all wrapped up in one.
Hey.
So there you go.
Yep.
We
I agree, Ted. I agree.
I agree. Yeah, I would agree, Chad. I don't think tight end or cornerback is cornerback is a first round need by any stretch of the imagination anymore. So
it depends how the board falls. There's
That's
one
true.
that I have a draft crush over.
Who's that?
Yeah,
Branch.
I feel
he's more of a safety though, but
right. But Flores plays hybrids.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he'll play nickel, he'll play slot, he'll do all that kind of stuff too. But
I don't think Branch is getting that far, so I don't think we have to worry about it.
I don't think so either. Right.
No. All right, then the next free agent signing, little bit of a kerfuffle with it. Finally, apparently is now official as of just before we went on to record the show tonight. Marcus Davenport, 1 year, $13 million. He was here, then left. Apparently there was rumors that there were some issues with the physical or something going on, but saw as of about 5 o'clock this afternoon that the deal was done and they were signing the papers and everything. So Davenport will be a Viking. Dave, what do you think about bringing him in?
I like him. He's got basically one very, very good move. That's speed to power. He's a bull rushing type. I really, really like the idea of having him on one side, Hunter on the other, and Z as the Joker when it comes to pass rushing. And I think Flores does too. I think that's why the Vikings are sticking firm to, no, you're still on the team, Za'Darius.
I think so too.
And but I do hope he learns and gets more moves, learns from those two older vets, right? Za'Darius and Daniil, some more tricks for that deal. And he combines that with his speed to power. And that could be a threesome that just absolutely terrorizes quarterbacks, especially in our division. I'd love to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Justin?
Not a guy, 6'6", 265 pounds, and as you said, Dave, speed to power. And he's kind of got that whole Mike Zimmer every other year thing, and this is his year to be on. So I'll just say that getting back to Za'Darius, I'm kind of 50-50 on, if I want him back or not. It's kind of one of those deals where, okay, if you're having some discussions and some disagreements with your employer, don't put that on blast out on social media. Work it out, and once you're gone, say whatever you got to say. That's fine. But as far as Davenport goes, I'm glad that whatever issues there may not been, whether it was the physical or whether, something about his injury history, whatever the case may be, I'm glad that is done. And I agree with you, Dave. If you could keep all three of those guys and keep them happy and make it work to where that's – this time last year we were talking about hopefully Daniil Hunter and Za'Darius Smith can get back to 2019 form, and if they can, what a pair that they would be. What a trio this would be. Okay, This is the inverse of 3 deep. Okay, this is 3 outstanding pass rushers that all were top 15 in pressures throughout the year last year, if I recall correctly. So, yeah, if there's a way to make that work with all 3 of them, as well as all the moves we just got done talking about with our secondary, as well as having a defensive coordinator that might actually know how to use some of his players, this defense could find itself in quite a massive turnaround. I'm not willing to say top 10 yet, but having said that, the possibilities aren't so much of a pipe dream anymore if you got all 3 of these guys.
Well, and then not only these 3 guys, because right before we hopped on tonight, the Vikings announced another free agent defensive front man signing, bringing over Dean Lowry from the Green Bay Packers. 2 years, $8.5 million. The guy has been pretty much a stalwart his entire career over in Green Bay. He's missed 3 games throughout his career, and I think that was all at the end of last season. Very solid guy. I've always liked him. He's played well against us every time we play him. And I definitely a upgrade on our front line, whether he's a replacement for Dalvin Tomlinson or an upgrade over Jonathan Bullard. It's definitely an upgrade anyway, I think. So,
Agreed.
Justin, we'll let you hit this one here first.
Well, I'm going to say that I'm going to watch all of his tape, not against the Vikings, because you can't take away of anything of a defensive player going up against Garrett Bradbury. That's just it's the old. Well, he terrorized us all the time. Well, is that a indication of him, or is it an indication of our guys aren't being so good? But just the little bit of tape that I had a chance to watch of him, I'm just like, okay, this guy is solid, and that's something that would just be good enough. Whoa.
Hey, we got Brunswick back.
Whoa.
I am officially in, and I am here for good.
Good.
All right.
So it is your computer, apparently.
It's got to be, yeah.
This
This is nice.
All right, there we go. I'll wrap quick to say, hey, good signing, again, a good price, again, a good contract where you're not hamstrung for 5 years. All right, Bruno, we've gone on for a while. I'll just eschew here now and let you say something about all the 15 things we've been saying since you've been gone.
Give me about 1 minute here or 2 minutes.
Okay, fair enough.
As much as I was in and out, I love the Oliver signing. Love it. One of the best blocking tight ends in the league. Absolutely love the signing. I get what KOC and Kwesi are doing there. Not only will it provide extra protection for Kirk, but it really opens up the playbook on first down, in my opinion. So that will help a lot. And you know what? He can catch the ball. He's a tight end. He's played before. He gets open. You throw him the ball. He's probably going to catch it. So the Murphy signing was great. Wow, was I surprised that we got him? Yes, but that was absolutely the shot that we needed as a fan. To really bring our spirits up to that next level and see exactly where Kwesi and KOC want to go with this thing. So, anyways, I like the Lowry signing. That was pretty big. That will come in huge. All right, I'm good. Let's keep the show on the road.
All right, I think you're caught up.
Swimmingly.
All right, Dave, what do you think about Lowry?
My first impression was Jag, just a guy. He's going to add. He's going to be decent. I'm not overly thrilled. Nor am I disappointed. I'm neutral on it. He's a good defensive lineman. Probably plays 5 technique-ish for us. And we need those. We're not going to find one that can push the pocket. They are far and few between, and so that's why I want to keep the 3 edge rushers doing their thing. But I think he's good on those early downs against the run. So it's good signing. It doesn't disappoint me any, and we needed depth there. So, and he'll probably get that start next to Phillips, is my bet.
I would guess, yeah.
That Davenport signing was pretty big too. Hopefully we can back him back to, more 2019, 2021.
Right.
More so than 2020, 2022. So, there's a potential there. It's just, is Flores going to unlock the potential in Davenport? Let's hope he can.
Well, talk about potential. That seems to be the key of this free agency period.
Mm-hmm.
He's picking very much. Kwesi seems to have a type, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some guys like blondes, others like brunettes, others like redheads. Well, Kwesi likes that 26 to 27-year-old that's coming off their first contract, who flashes signs of being really, really good, but has generally had problems with injuries or whatever. So, that's the types they're getting, and they're not shelling out a ton of money. Not that we have it to shell out, and they're getting them on good short 1, 2, 3 year deals. They're almost prove it deals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here, we don't expect to be. We're going to compete in 2023, but we're not going to expect to be championship, contenders in 2023. We're setting up for 2024 to roll into that realm.
Right. Players are hopefully differently thinking that, though. I would hope the players come in thinking, hey, man, let's go get that championship regardless.
Oh, yes, without a doubt.
Absolutely.
Like I said, it's an audition. You go out there and you perform your butt off, that big contract's coming next.
That defense is going to be a lot faster in 2023 than what it was in 2022, in my opinion.
Amen.
Younger and faster. Let's hope they got good instincts. They're on their shoulders. So, and
Not that it. Go
the
ahead.
Brian Flores signing is going to be huge.
Not that it takes much to be a lot faster than last year's defense.
No,
The day that
the four of us could have made the Pro Bowl playing for that defense last year. So
I love the line that you had a couple weeks ago, Rhino. Donna Shell's idea of zero blitz is zero blitzes.
we don't blitz anybody.
It's
Yeah.
night
Yeah,
and day
yeah,
between
right.
between the coordinators from last year and this coming year. Night and day difference in between the two.
Yeah.
Well, you want to hear a stat talking about differences? Last year, Ed Donatel had a grand total of 19 safety blitzes last year. 19. 12 of them were for Harrison Smith, who we've yet to talk about. 19. In the last year that Flores played, they had 200 safety blitzes. When you consider in the defense plays 1,200 plus reps a year, that is ginormous when it comes to
absolutely.
philosophy.
Speaking of safety blitzes, Dave,
Mhm.
Lewis Seen returning
Yeah.
next season as well. On top of it all,
Mhm.
that's going to be a defensive back group. For sure. I mean, it's going to be physical. Excuse me, a physical defensive back group.
Well, what I said the day that Flores was signed on the show that I did, it was this defense is not going to be recognizable to the one we just witnessed. They might get burned a few games, but there's also going to be a few games where they are going to absolutely wreak some havoc. And it's going to be one end of the extreme or the other. And that was before all of the signings and all the players that we know now. But my point is that it's not going to be a death by 10,000 paper cuts like last year's was. And you know what? If you lose a game 38-35 and you went down swinging, okay, you know what? The other team out-schemed you or they got one more play than you did. But when you're losing a game 38-35 because you just let them go down the field, drive after drive after drive, okay, so your idea is to get them into the red zone and then tighten up in the red zone and hope they don't score so many touchdowns. I mean, come on. It's like I understand the concept of it, but at some point you have to realize, okay, this is not sustainable and this is not going to work against good teams. It'll work against bad teams, but this defense this year, I think there's going to be times they're going to get the snot burned out of them, and there's going to be times where they're beating the snot out of people, and I'll take that over a slow death any day of the week.
Nobody respected us last year on defense.
No.
Nobody respected us on defense last year at all, and it was
peewee football
we need to
for
bring
offenses.
every single play.
Yeah.
We don't need to blitz every single play, but we need to be aggressive every single play on defense.
2 weeks ago when Dave and I were here with you guys, what did I say?
Nobody was scared of us last season.
You didn't need to be you didn't need to be Andy Reid to scheme up an offensive game plan against us. It was, hey, backyard football and peewee. What do? You run 5 yards and then two people crisscross. That's all you needed to do against our defense.
It was playing Madden on rookie mode.
Yes. So this will be fun.
But so anyway, Dave gave us the good little segue into the last major defensive player to the point here. Harrison Smith, the one lone holdout, had apparently had significant interest from other teams, but wanted to stay here and wants to finish his career in Minnesota. So he agreed to redo his contract, taking a significant pay cut, lowering his base salary to $8 million plus a potential $2 million in incentives, saving us around $9 million to the cap. Myself personally, I wanted to, ever since the Flores signing was announced, I want to see Harrison Smith play in a Flores defense because he is the prototypical safety for this defense. Mm-hmm. Lance, since you're behind the 8 ball on a lot of stuff, I'll let you take it first this time.
Uh-oh.
We lost sound with you.
Yeah.
Now you're back. We got you.
Talk to us about Hitman.
We got you, Lance. Go ahead and start talking.
Am I here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello?
Everybody, thumbs up.
The floor is yours,
Thumbs up
Lance.
on my end.
You're good. Just keep talking. Tell us about what you think about Harry.
For fuck's sake.
It's amazing how that always comes through, right, Rhino?
Yeah. I said Lance swearing we never have a problem with that. We just have a problem with everything else. But
Yeah,
we can hear
exactly.
we can hear you, Lance. What do you think about Hitman coming back?
He's got his speakers turned off.
Yeah.
No, I'm here.
All right.
Well, tell us about
I'm here.
Hitman.
Use sign language.
Everybody point at him. Everybody point at him.
Read my lips.
Harrison Smith.
Somebody put in the chat Harrison Smith in caps and then put that up. Then put it up.
I don't know what's going on.
We can hear you just fine, Lance, but
We can hear you. We can see you.
Oh, just continue without me, boys. I'll be back sometime.
All right.
I'm
Hey,
here. I'm here, but I'm not. I'll be here, so I'll be here.
why don't you start, Justin, while I'm sending him a message here?
All right, sounds good. What's up, Rap? What's up, Nick? What's up, Dave Potato? Everybody that just joined. Hey, thanks for joining in. Again, you and I have been on the same page since we started this collab thing, Rhino, which is the old guard. The sacred cows needed to be put out to pasture. And if there was one sacred cow that might have got a pass, if there could be a negotiation to where everybody was happy, it was Harrison Smith, not only for what he has done, but also what he could possibly do with the Brian Flores system. I mean, again, it kind of goes without saying that it's just like, yeah, last year we barely recognized him. It's ridiculous that Donachelle didn't blitz him more often. And then when he actually blitzed him, it's like, could you be any more obvious that Harrison Smith is coming on a blitz on this play? You know, part of the reason it wasn't obvious when Zimmer did it is because Harrison Smith was up on the line of scrimmage 3/4 of the time and would run back on the times that he didn't blitz. You know, that way you didn't quite know. Oh, look at that. Harrison Smith's been lining up 20 yards off the line of scrimmage for 90% of the plays, and he seems to be up here. So I wonder if he's coming here. But having said all that, I'm really glad that Harrison Smith, I mean, again, I'm never going to tell a player that they are obligated to take less money. This is a business on both sides, both from a team construction standpoint and from a personal standpoint. So I'll never begrudge any player for getting as much money as they can. Having said that, good on Harrison Smith for finding a way to staying at home and playing it out next year. So with all that being said, I'm ecstatic that Harry, the Hitman, is still going to be a member of this backfield. And getting to some points that were made earlier about the continuity and about the leadership. Again, we wish nothing but the best and hope for the best when we're talking about Lewis Cine and Andrew Booth Jr. But if those two guys, particularly Cine, can come back healthy, him and Harrison Smith back there in Brian Flores' system, look out. I'm really excited, and I'm really glad this one got done. If they had renegotiated Adam Thielen, with all due respect, it's nothing personal like we talked about earlier. It's just like, okay, you took an X $1 million pay cut to be the third wide receiver. What kind of production are you still going to be giving us when you're costing us $8, $9, $10 million worth of salary cap? With Harrison Smith, you know that production is going to be there with everything that we've seen going on. So I'm extremely happy with Harrison coming back with us.
Okay, Lance, are you able to give us your opinion now?
Yeah, I think so. You can play safety at a high level at a later age in your career, I believe. You know, that's why a lot of corners convert to safety.
Very good point. Very good point.
When they can't play corner anymore. Man, what a night. I spilled my water all over my desk. And
all of a sudden he's going to get a jolt.
Yeah, I was about to say.
His internet will be clear as can be after that.
Yeah.
If there was one vet that I wanted to keep, Harrison Smith was it.
Yep.
Honestly. He is the heartbeat of that defense. He's the soul. He's the last remnant, really, of what existed of the defense before KOC and company came. He loves being a Viking, and he is, it's through and through. So I'm glad we hung on to him. I'm glad he took a pay cut to stay here It shows his loyalty to the purple and gold, that he loves to be here. I wish, dude, but no. Anyways.
Sorry.
Keep moving along here. Yeah, I had to get a cup of soup there for a second.
Oh gosh,
enjoy it with
the Pantheon, my buddy Oli from out in Hawaii out there. So he's set aside the business for a little bit of time to come join us. So appreciate everybody again joining us. So,
thanks, Pantheon. We appreciate you.
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
Oli in Hawaii. That's got to be a story, or at
Yeah.
least could be a creative one.
Well, that's a
Hi,
pretty
this
good
is
one.
Oli. I'm calling from Honolulu. I think Harry, the hitman, is a good man to keep. I'll hang up and listen.
He's actually a Norwegian from Minnesota that moved out to Hawaii. So,
All right.
Okay, Dave, let's get your
Hey,
thoughts
Harry,
on Hitman.
it's the one guy I think all of us wanted to keep. Like I said, I wanted Pat P too, but Harry has been there forever. He is Minnesota Vikings, like Adam Thielen. Here, 10 years or so down the road, he will be hoisted up there into the Ring of Honor without a doubt.
No
He's
question.
a great safety. Last year, he was misused beyond belief by Ed Donatel. He still had 5 interceptions. And of those 19, or of the 12 pressures, or 12 safety blitzes he had, it was like 5 of them he got pressures on. He has a huge rate on that. And like you said, Rhino, it wasn't like it was a surprise because the only time he pressured was the only time he came up.
Yeah. Harrison Smith's in the box. I wonder what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Brian Flores is going to change that, and I can't wait. And I think Harry can't wait either. Now, on his contract, yes, he took a cut. Shows true purple in him. He wants to be a Viking. He does incur a cap hit. This is like the Barr contract. It releases him after this season. He becomes a free agent after 2023. And we will have, I think it's a $7.4 million dead cap hit in a void year in 2024. However, if he plays like I think he's going to play and wishes to play another year, they just go, okay, extension, one more year. And then that keeps moving that 7.4 down, or however they want to play with it, as the salary cap goes up and up, which means we're getting better prices. He becomes a legend. You know, he wears number 22. It's Paul Krause's number, right? Krause loves him. So I want to see both those guys up. You know, Krause is already up there. Let's see Harry go right next to him in that 22 in the middle.
Yeah.
And let's not let anybody else wear 22 once Harrison's done.
What's their plan? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with that too.
Now that Irv Smith has gotten rid of 84, can we stop letting people wear 84?
Josh Oliver wears 84, man.
I don't care. I don't
care.
He did.
Baltimore.
The other purple.
Right.
We don't know what he's
purple.
doing here.
Not this
Right.
purple.
All right, so that's most of the defensive side of things. We did have a couple offensive ones too. Of course, probably the biggest one, other than the Josh Oliver one we already talked about. Garrett Bradbury is back on a 3-year, $15.75 million contract. $3.82 million in a signing bonus, $1.8 million base salary for this year. $4.9 million in 24 and 25, guaranteed for injury only. His cap hit this year roughly $2.6 million. So, Lance, the floor is yours while you have internet. So,
Do you still hear us?
I like it. Just based on the year that he had this past season and what KOC got out of Bradbury. And with, it's a team-friendly contract. It's not like he went and demanded a fucking shit ton of money. Excuse my French, guys. I don't know how many I'm up to tonight, but I'm up to quite a bit. But yeah, I don't mind the contract. And like I said, I cut about half that flag before my computer turned the leg off there. But Yeah, I like the signing. It takes the need off the list. So,
David's not a big fan, but
well, depending on what that back injury is and how severe that was, that kind of concerns me. But other than that, I'm happy with it.
Dave.
Man.
Thank you.
Nah.
Hey, welcome, GMAC. Finally
What's
made
up,
it.
G-Mac? How y'all doing?
It's he was so bad for the first 3 years. Last year he got halfway decent. I think a lot of that has to do with the scheme. That's KOC. Kirk Cousins was back in shotgun more, which gave him more room to set. So he didn't get his fork lifted as easily. He is great in the screen game, and he is great blocking at the second level. I've never disputed that. He's good at that. It's pass blocking I worry about. And he does call the defense very well because Kirk Cousins doesn't do that, is not the primary. He's a secondary. He's the check. Whereas Bradbury does. And we saw last year when Bradbury was out, which is a problem again. When Bradbury's out, even when Schlottman and Reed come in, you've got to. I'd like better. John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota would be my dream at center. However, I do not think they're going to get him because you don't spend a first rounder on a center generally unless he's a blue chipper. Do I think John Michael Schmitz is a blue chipper? I do. But I don't see the Vikings going that route because they have other needs.
Just with the Bradbury re-signing, it kind of puts an X on that, I believe, anyways.
Right. It does. What gives them the reason to sign Smits if they've got Bradbury under lock and key for the next deal? I hope he improves. Yeah. I literally, Coach Cooper, the O-line coach, had helped, and just like the rest of the interior line, Cleveland and Ed Ingram, they continue to improve. The O-line's not changing from last year. It is what it is. It is who we have. There'll be another year together. That always helps, right? Another year in the system, full off seasons, that always helps. Coach Cooper is the new coach from last year going into the second year. That helps. They should be playing better. So I'm cool with that. It's just it's nothing I'm getting real excited over, and it's a meh move, but I'm not worried about it. We were top 10 offense last year. What makes you think we're going below that this year?
Very good point.
I don't think so. I think the only way
I don't either. I really don't either.
The only person we lost off the offense was Adam Thielen. We talked about that. Justin was 100% correct about it, right? That's not a big deal. We signed Oliver. I think we're going to more 12 and 13-man formations, and our true wide receiver 2 is tight end 1, TJ Hawkinson. I think
the signing of Oliver spells the end of Ham as well.
Well, not necessarily on that one because they haven't got rid of Ham. They like Ham.
They do.
Everybody likes Ham, but paying $4 million to a fullback you don't use is kind of
the special teams. They love them on special teams.
That's the key. There's that. I'm going to slightly disagree with Dave, though. Slightly. I agree it's a meh move. Here's the problem with Garrett Bradbury. Our expectations of him were so low that any sort of improvement looks massively more than it might actually be. Garrett Bradbury, here's his problem. When we go up against mediocre to bad defensive lines, we can survive with a Garrett Bradbury and company with the 2 tackles you mentioned there. But the drop-off is so significant when you go up against good to very good defensive lines that, yes, over the course of 16, 17 games in a regular season, you could probably have 8 or 9 games where your offensive line graded decent or really good, and then you're going to have 3 or 4 games where they grade out horribly, and at the end of the day, they average out to be a B-. Here's my problem with Garrett Bradbury. When you show me for 3 years that you're just mediocre at best, and then in your contract, you're granted new coaching staff, new coaching scheme, and all those things that you mentioned, valid points. And now you have but again, at the end of the day, when the chips are down, when he's going up against guys, former Bear Akeem Hicks, Kenny Clark from Green Bay, the Lawrence guy from New York. When you go up against one of those two guys, it's pack a lunch, and it's the same over and over again. Now, I will say this. I agree that you can't take John Michael Schmitz with the 23rd overall pick. If you traded back a couple of times, got some extra picks, and picked him up early to mid-second round, I'd be ecstatic about it. But as far as Garrett Bradbury's contracts go, again, yes, it's a 3-year deal. But it's one of those, again, it's a 1-year deal that has team-friendly club options on it. You can cut Garrett Bradbury after 2023, and you're going to have very minimal salary cap repercussions to it. So I almost think that they're kind of using Garrett Bradbury as kind of a bridge center. You know, we always talk about, well, we need to find a bridge quarterback so that we don't completely go from, quarterback X to quarterback of the future. I think they're using Garrett Bradbury as that bridge center. And I'm still not, and again, part of it is my, Gophers hearts that, I've seen this John Michael Schmitz character play a bunch, and, I'd be ecstatic if we got him, but I'm not totally quite sold that we're completely out of the center market if we can find a good spot in the draft. You're right. You can't overdraft a center. We have too many needs for that. So I will grant all that.
And Bradbury's the prime example.
Mm-hmm.
Bradbury had such high hopes. He was a Remington Award winner at center, right? And we drafted him in the first round, expecting an instant starter that was going to be good at this level. And for the first 3 years, he, other than his downfield blocking, his run blocking, he was trash, absolute trash. It was only till last year, a contract year for him, because they didn't give him the 5th-year option, which was a smart move.
They got a steal for that, by the way.
And
Right.
He played better, but then again, he got hurt and late in the season. I do believe his technique, if all of you have watched me, and there's a ton of people in the remarks that have watched me for years, know I harp, round bellies are my love. I harp on technique, right? And it comes to leverage and balance when it comes to playing offensive line. And when you're at a center, you've got to be able to overcome that and get the proper leverage and balance. And so many times he get tipped over that leverage point or literally lifted off the ground, which gives you no leverage because you're off the ground. And he'd get beat so many times. And I would go on and on and on and on and on about how all that needs to be fixed. Well, some of it started to improve last year. That's a good signing or a good sight to see. Whether that continues or not, I don't know. I agree with you, Justin. I think it may be a gap signing between now and whoever we get next. And if John Michael Schmitz gets drafted, you're coming on my show and we are going to celebrate together.
I don't think it's going to be John Michael Schmitz that would be getting drafted by us. I could see somebody like the guy out of Michigan.
Possibly.
Yeah. Olu.
Or the Wisconsin guy, too.
Yeah.
Tippmann, the kid from Arkansas, too, that I've watched some tape on. I can never remember his name for whatever it is. But
I watched Schmitz at the Senior Bowl, and he
tore people up.
Oh, yeah. He was putting people in body bags at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, it's just, it was one of those things where I needed some alone time.
Late nights with Dave Stefano.
Hey, I love good line play.
Stefano after dark.
There you go. I guess I got a couple just little points to tie up the whole Bradbury thing. I'm okay with the signing. The contract itself does, as you guys were saying, does not eliminate us from potentially taking a center sometime in the draft. And should we do that, the contract is cheap enough where Bradbury can be a backup center for a couple of years, and have a Tippmann or the Masui, or however you say his name, from Michigan, or the kid from Arkansas. The one thing that also is worries me a little bit with Bradbury, though, is that back injury. I mean, we've seen it many, many times over the years where we've got a lineman that suffers a back injury. We've seen it with centers before, especially, that once they have that back injury, it becomes a chronic problem and he starts missing time and things like that. And right now, We have Austin Schlottman again backing him up, which
Schlottman and Reed are both back.
Right, which I don't know that I'm super confident in after we saw what happened last year. So
no.
Center is still on the board as far as I'm concerned.
Didn't Burke and Sullivan both have back issues before they left here?
Yeah, well, Burke was a hernia, if I recall.
Burke was a hernia, but yeah, Sullivan. That's
definitely
why we moved on from him, was because he had a chronic back issue.
And they both moved on from Minnesota and went on to have pretty respectable few years left in their careers as well, where they in their next stop as well, I believe. I think Sullivan in with the Rams and Burke with the Ravens got a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So,
but it's a gamble. It's a gamble when you have a known problem. And this goes for Daniil Hunter too. His is, vertebrae and upper neck. Mm-hmm. Anything can happen, just a weird tweak, sleep wrong, whatever, and suddenly he's out for 6 weeks.
Right.
It's a gamble.
It's hard enough for me to fucking sneeze sometimes.
Well, to your point though, Dave, about leverage and balance, kind of hard to leverage anything if you got a bad back. I mean, it isn't any more complicated than that, I don't think. But
it's even harder if you're lifted off the ground.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, his anchor's always been the question with Bradbury.
What up, Thadir? Glad you could join us.
It's anchor and technique, and you develop your anchor through good technique. Lance, it's footwork, it's how you position your body, how you bend, where your center of gravity is, how you're positioned for strength and such. I could go into a whole clinic on how offensive linemen should play. And he hasn't had it. It hasn't been that way. It's improved under Coach Cooper. I hope it continues to. For the sake of the Vikings, I hope it continues
Absolutely.
to. And I hope he gets better. Like I've said across the board, it generally takes linemen 3 to 4 years to get it at the NFL level before you know exactly who you have. Tight ends, we talked about it. The old saying is, you draft a tight end for the next team.
Yep.
Because it takes that long. Some positions are long to develop. Corners, it takes a couple years. Wide receivers, usually a couple years-ish, depending. But there's some that take longer, and offensive line is one of those. It's unfortunate. You don't expect that from a first-round draft choice.
Right. All right, we've gone about an hour and 20 minutes. We've got a couple more. I'm just going to kind of lump them all together, and we can kind of discuss those quick. Special teamers. We went out and gave Andrew DePaulo the largest guaranteed contract ever given to a long snapper. Of course,
that
it was
today or yesterday, though, by the way.
Yeah, what was the numbers? I had them written down here and I missed them. Okay, 3 years, $4.03 million with $2.265 million guaranteed.
Superstar Mike Morris is rolling. Like, really?
Yeah.
I couldn't get more than $400,000. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, and then we also brought back Greg Joseph, 1 year, $2 million, but only $300,000 of that is guaranteed. So I look for competition to be brought in during training camp, and there's no lock that Joseph makes the 53. I don't think.
You're not going to see it.
Don't think so?
I think they've locked the 3 specialists, and that's where it's going to be.
Yeah.
We're going to roll that unless somebody gets hurt.
Personally, I wouldn't have brought back Joseph back at all. I was done with him by the end of last year, but that's just me.
Hey, his field goal kicking isn't that bad. It's his extra points, which is absolutely weird to think about.
Yeah.
Right. As long as you don't have to kick something from 33 yards, he's fine.
Yes.
He's fine.
Note to AOC, if you're about to kick a 33-yard field goal, just tell Kirk to take a knee so that we move it back to 35.
Yeah.
Also, don't have him line up for a 27-yard field goal either. We don't have any good luck with that. So 27 and 35, 27 and 33, we can't do.
Make sure it's on the right hash.
Yeah, that too. That is what is so mind-boggling about Joseph. It kind of reminds me of Randy Moss, that there'd be times where he would make these ungodly, ridiculous catches, and then he would drop the simplest passes in the world. But at the end of the day, I would have preferred that we take a shot at Robbie Gould, but, it is what it is. And I get it. I remember, I think you guys had Ryan Longwell on
this past season
on
a Vikings happy hour.
On one of your happy hours, talking about the consistency of your long snapper, your holder, and your kicker. So from that perspective, I get it. And maybe it's just the post-traumatic stress as Vikings fans that we have of our kickers that we wanted to look at something else. But whatever.
Who's the best kicker in the league over his career so far?
Tucker,
yeah. Tucker Carlson.
I don't know if I said that first or not, because I don't know if I'm still here.
No,
you did.
Yeah,
right.
Oh, I'm still okay. Okay, I'm still here.
Yeah, it's Dan Carlson. Yeah, not Justin Tucker, Dan Carlson, not Tucker Carlson. That's a completely different show that we're not going to.
I'm like, wait a second, where we going with that? Oh, I get it.
We're going to stick. This is a football show. We're going to stay the hell away from that kind of stuff.
Yes, never.
Anyway, there's then just kind of a few other random signings that we did do. Nick Mullins back on a 2-year, $4 million contract. I love this signing because he is a very capable backup and can go win us a couple of games if is ever needed. Unlike our old Sean Mannion dabbling that we did for way too many years. Then, of course, also Austin Schlottman re-signed. Tight end Ben Ellefson signed to another deal. Edge rusher Kenny Willekes, who I've always been a big fan of, brought back. He's dealt with a lot of injuries, but
if he can stay healthy, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then, of course, Ross Blacklock and Chris Reed both took pay cuts to stick around. So
and Hicks, by the way,
and Hicks as well. Yep. I can't. He's on my list. We forgot to talk about him, but yeah, we saved $1.5 million by restructuring him. Gives us some.
I don't think he's a guaranteed 53-man roster guy at the end of training camp. So
you may be right, Lance, but he is the veteran in the room. So
that's right. True, absolutely. But they're going to need some speed there, and I don't know if they have the right guys to cover up his deficiencies in that department.
Well, you got obviously Asamoah.
Right.
I love to death. Right. I love his speed. The way he closes in on a pocket is a thing of beauty.
Not big on Troy Dye
sometimes, and that's a problem. But when he gets it right, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But Hicks did all right against the run. You will not.
On third. He was passing. He was top 5 ranked. Was the second or third, wasn't he, against the run?
Third PFF ranked in the league against the run.
But his pass coverage is absolutely garbage, and you'll see him pulled off. And that's where Asamoah has speed. Asamoah can stick with somebody. And
we're going to need somebody to replace Hicks on the passing down. So because
there you go. Hybrid safety types that may come.
Branch, man.
See?
Yeah, no, I know. Lance and I have talked about him a couple of shows ago too. That's one of Lance's draft crushes. So. But I guess with that covers most everything, I think.
Is it just me or is this a fast show?
Wait, you were only here for 10 minutes of it.
When you take 5 smoke breaks, your day goes real fast.
Right.
Appreciate you, G-Mac. Appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate everybody for joining us in the live chat. We kind of got off on a few tangents, but the live shows are kind of a no holds barred kind of thing. Justin, Dave, I really appreciate you guys coming on tonight. Justin, where can the people find you once again?
That is Purple and Gold for Days. The Twitter handle is jday_24, but Purple and Gold for Days on YouTube is where you'll find my content. It's been an absolute blast. And Brunswick, we're going to get through one show. One of these days, we are going to get through one show without the internet.
I still feel like a stranger to you, man.
I know, right? We've done almost 3 hours together because both of our shows have gone around an hour and a half.
About 15 minutes if you want to, really
I
break
think
it down.
you and I have got 15 minutes together. That's right. In all seriousness, that's Purple and Gold for Days. Please like, comment, and by the way, a lot of people, I'm going to use one of my cohorts' lines here. This video right now on YouTube has got a grand total of what? About 9 likes right now. And I know we've
smash that like button.
If you could. Everybody always asks me, hey, how can I support your channel? I said, well, first of all, when you see a video, hit that like button because that helps push the content, whether you're talking about me or anybody else that you consume content with on YouTube. Hit that like button, share the videos out, tweet it out, and, of course, subscribe. But thanks again for having me, Bruno and Rhino. And Dave, it was an absolute blast to finally get time to sit down with you. Like I said, you're one of the people that, inspired me to get into this content creation stuff. So it was an absolute blast.
All right. Dave, fill us in again on your new endeavor and where can we find you and who is with you?
My new endeavor is as of Monday, and we started this Monday night, Vikings First and Skull. All you have to do is look that up on YouTube. It's Vikings First Skull. I think it lists as 92. I think is if you want to do the HTTPS : blah, blah, blah. It's there. You can find us. I brought with me the real Forno, Tyler Fornes, and Darren Campbell, my partner on 2O Bloggers. And we have a live show. Should be the first live show on a new channel tomorrow, 2O Bloggers, at 4:00 Central. And we go over 3 themes. One of them is going to be some of these free agent signings. The others we are looking at for State of the Vikings. We are looking at the corner room this week, which is pretty bleak. However, we did get Byron Murphy, and we're going to be excited about that one. We're going to be putting out stuff almost daily. We're going to try get that, and then we're going to be podcasting along with Fans First Sports Network. You're going to see a lot more of them in the future because they're sucking up all those teams that SB Nation let go because SB Nation, unfortunately, couldn't hold on to them. But we're here for you. And what I miss the most, and I've told the people on my recorded shows, is interacting with the people in the comments. Sadir, GMAC, Dr. Proto, Reggie, all of you guys, Ted and Drew and Toonses, I miss talking to you all. And it's great to be back and to do that because this is a community. It doesn't matter what show it is. We're all love our Minnesota Vikings. And if one wins, we all win and helps the purple win. And we all want that. So let's keep it up. Thanks for having me on, Rhino. Thanks for having me on, Lance. Appreciate it. I've enjoyed it greatly.
I should have paid my electric bill. I'm losing light here.
Maybe that's why your internet's not working. But no, again, once again, thank you, Justin. Thank you, Dave, for joining us. Everybody out there, please go like and subscribe to Purple and Gold for Days, Vikings First and Skull, and of course, Vikings Uncensored. Like Dave said, we're all one big family of Vikings content creators. When one succeeds, we all succeed. I look forward to more collaboration with you guys. I enjoy the hell out of this.
Now my
We're gonna
fucking work.
Yeah, we got to get Lance some better internet, but our goal over here at VU is to try to do more live shows like this, more interaction with everybody, having more guests on, more stuff like that. So you get a little bit more of a different perspective along things, not just from Lance and I, but from people like Justin, Dave, and anybody else that wants to come on. We're more than we're all welcoming. We want to have people in with different viewpoints. But again, thank everybody for watching, joining in tonight in the chat. Remember to subscribe to all 3 of the channels. And as we do always, why don't you take us home, Lance?
I'll try. Gonna keep it short and sweet here. We appreciate all you guys out there watching. If you have not yet, hit that subscribe button and smash that like button as well. We love bringing you this content. We love having people on that support the team as well. And with that being said, we'll see you next week, Friday at our regular time as well, and we'll see you for episode 103. Oh, and don't forget to catch Brunswick's Best later on in the week.
Yes, we are releasing Brunswick's Best episodes on their own little show now Wednesday nights, so keep that in mind too and watch out for those. As Lance hits the best players to wear each individual number for the Minnesota Vikings in team history. So a lot of good info there. Lance puts a lot of time and effort into that. So make sure you like those videos when they come out. And with that, everybody have a good weekend. Thanks again, Justin and Dave, for joining us. Skol Vikes, and we'll see you guys next week.